and welcome to it. Let's get a moment ready here, you guys. Work your way in the door if anyone wants to come in the door for the reading of Wilds of Eldraine, Episode 1, Pure Heart. Yeah. Alright, so the Eldraine set comes out when?
I don't know.
Well, it is the next set drop, correct?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Alright. Let's see here. Hey, I got some
That was me.
emoticons flying in the air. Oh, thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Let's I think we're all good here. I'll give it like another minute. Well, everyone gets ready. I'll be right to it. All right, we'll see if we can get through all of it once. We might take a little intermission. We'll see how it goes. It scrolls down for a while, so. Wilds of Eldraine, Episode 1, Pure of Heart, by Arsenault Rivera, August 8th, 2023, magic.wizards.com. Magic Stories. I did not write this, merely reading. All right, let's get to it. There was a king who dwelled in Eldraine. Thank you. Jesus fucking Christ. There was a king who dwelled in Eldraine, a good king, who had his side a good queen. Together they had 4 good children, and those who lived within the kingdom lived happily, knowing they would remain in good hands for generations to come. I don't mind the edit. I'd like to say I'm right. But the good king is dead, slain defending his family to the last, and the queen is dead too. All their superstitions, all their wards, all their goodness meant nothing in the face of Phyrexian's invasion. The generations that should have lived in peace now lie in mass graves below upturned heaths and meadows. Some good stuff. The knights who repelled the invasion, both those gone to seed as mercenaries, and those yet clinging to valor, call Will the boy king. And no matter how much she wishes it were hers, let me go back. How much she wishes it were otherwise, Ronan, Rowan? Let's go with Rowan, yeah.
Rowan.
Cannot blame them. The knights they come to see provides easy comparison. Dents and rends mark of her armor, telling the story of her valor as surely as letters on a page. Her handsome face is silvered with scars earned in valiant service. Her hammer alone is nearer to Will's size. The arm she lost in the fight against the Phyrexians has been replaced by an enchanted wood, a gift from the Fae that begs as many questions as in answers. And there are many questions surrounding this woman. I have a lot. For the past 6 months, she's been demanding tribute from nearby villages in exchange for her services, driving off raiders. But the raiders in question, well, they always seem to wear her colors. In spite of this, the townfolk have a fondness for her, and it is this fondness that drove Will to seek her out for parley. Let's see here. What did Will say? Sir Modane. Okay, Sir Modane, Will says. He inclines his head, offering a hand to the knight. Glad tidings to you. I'd like to thank you for welcoming me among you and yours. The knight does not budge from her makeshift throne. Legend had it she crafted it from the bodies of fallen Phyrexians, and it certainly looked the part, all sharp angles and edges. She sits with one leg draped over her lap, her eyes narrowed at will. Queen Amadane, she says. Ah, a queen. Then we can make arrangements as equals, Will says. He offers a friendly smile, though Rowan can see the cracks in his mask. Emodane's riders laugh. She does too, her shoulders rising and falling. How were we? How we're beyond talking, boy king. The only reason I agreed to this little meeting was to see if you were as pathetic as I heard you are. Ooh, firing words. Watch your Rowan starts, but Will raises a hand to cut her off. Anger boils in the pit of his stomach. Her brother's smile never quite leaves his face. Pathetic is what you think of me. You're giving me no reason to think otherwise, says Imodane. Where were you during the invasions? Certainly not on the field. Watch your tongue, Rowan cuts in. They might not have been on the field, but they fought their own battles within the castle. Will waves her off. Then how about a duel? I'll give you reason to think otherwise. You bend the knee, no more raiding, no more pretending the throne. In honor of your service to the crown, you can remain one of our vassals and champions, provided you act accordingly. His calm only makes Rowan angrier. Power prickles in her blood. She flexes her fingers, palms to fist, trying to bury her feelings. Omadane scratches at one of his scars along her jaw, and if I win? Will gestures to the heralds behind them. She knows what he's going to say, and she already hates that he is going to say it. Me and mine follow you instead. I'll surrender the crown of Eldraine. You will be High Queen in name and deed. He hadn't consulted her about this, but if he had, she would have told him how foolish it is. Will could hold his own in some fights, sure, but against a woman like Amadane, he had about as much chance as an ant before a lion. Their mother could have done this, even their father, but Will? Let me do it, she whispers to her brother. I can handle her. I'll be all right, Will says. Her hammer bigger than you are, Will. Please, there's no need for more of us to get hurt. She will grant him one thing. His gaze has more steel in it than it did a few months ago. If it brings us stability, I don't mind shedding my own blood, he says. Besides, she'll come around when she realizes I don't back down from a fight. You will lose more than your blood if you do this. She will not respect you if she sees you broken before her. I'm right here. Why don't you trust me? Death is thick in the air of Eldraine. Family ties bond her in place. She cannot make a fool of her brother, not in so public of a place. Besides, he's been training tirelessly every morning. He came a long way from an awkward boy she once knew. A raiding knight like Almadane has land cleared for battles. How else are her underlings to work out their rage before campaigns? The grass here is well worn, the earth packed tight below. On one side, Imodane's rebels sit staring at them in their cobbled together armor. Nothing unites them, save their faith in Amadane, and yet to her they seem happier than her own brothers and sisters in arms. The Ardenvale knights may fear finer cloth, yes, and they have a place to sleep with many when many don't, but their faith and loyalty lie with the old king, the good king. Rowan. Is it Rowan or
Rowan.
Rowan? Sorry, everybody. Rowan?
Rowan.
Rowan takes a breath. Her brother takes a breath. A burglar sounds the alarm. Long have the knights tilted at one another on fields of battle and fields of glory, So many of her memories see her bouncing on her father's lap as she watched them, asking questions about everything she saw, asserting with perfect confidence that she'd number among them one day. Her father always assured her that she was right. When at least she tilted for the first time, her joy sparked in the hearts of her family, and thus, like kindling to flame, grew stronger. Phyrexia took that from her. Damn. Phyrexia did that to me today. Damn. Now, when she watches Will fall into fighting stance, she sees her father's face shadowing his. Imoldane becomes a barbed monstrosity intent on destruction. Rowan tightens her grip on the sword. She tries to root herself to the present moment, though its heft. Through the sensation of leather against her fingers, it's going to be all right. The time is not that time. Imoldane makes the first move, rushing towards Will with her great hammer in tow. Rowan flinches, but Will has this under control. He blasts the ground with ice, leaving it slick. Imoldane's momentum carries her to a pratfall. Unable to recover, she falls face first in the ice. Even her rebels cannot help but laugh. Dang. Whatever hope they had for an honorable duel is gone. Imoldane doesn't take kindly to being made a fool. Flame bursts from her head of her hammer. The ice coating the field melts, the thirsty ground drinking up the meager moisture with gusto. Imoldane raises herself up and with one mighty arm swings the hammer overhead. Will manages to avoid the shattering blow, but only just, throwing himself to the side, the move of a complete and utter novice. He cannot regain his balance before he too falls to the ground, and Imoldane can raise her hammer faster than Will can get back up. Rowan's throat gets tight. Fear screws her to the sticking spot. Each second of indecision burns her from inside. She hates this. It isn't who she is. She won't let it be. All the anger she felt then, watching her father die, all the sorrow she felt after, as current through a wire, she lets them course through her unimpeded. But there is something else coming along the anger, the sorrow, something new and terrible. Rowan knows it's not. Yet, like poison, it courses through her veins, setting her afire. To name what leaves her fingertips, a bolt of lightning is to the name of a cauldron a thimble. The heavens themselves tremble at the sight. Dark clouds recede to allow the king of elements its regal charge. By the time the thunder crack brings them all to their knees, it has been a full 5 seconds. Only when the dust settles does she realize what she's done. Generations from now, they will call this Stormcutter Mountain. With lightning her blade, Rowan's cut a massive rift in the side of the nearest peak. Giants could not hope to match it, not for all their trying. Her fingertips tingle. Her heart catches in her chest. She stares at her hand at the massive rift in disbelief. Power like this isn't where had she found it? Rowan! Will sounds horrified. He looks it too. Even Imoldane's gone pale with terror. The way she's looking at her is the way people looked at. They're afraid of her. Rowan's tongue sticks to the roof of her mouth, sorry. She can't think of anything to say, so she stands tall instead. If she reaches for her sword, she'll still project power. But the moment she makes the gesture, Imoldane drops the hammer, turns tails, and runs. The wood swallows her up before even of them can figure out how to stop her. That isn't quite true. Will could have. A single ice bolt would have done it, but he remains on the ground, staring up at Rowan. Even though she helps him up, he never takes his eyes away from her. What have you done? He asks her. She isn't ready to answer that. You should have felt me. If you should have let me fight. You should have never done it to yourself. You know you don't have the training. Eyes on her back, sword drawn behind him. Her warrior sense are alight. Imelda may have fled, but her rebels haven't. Without any clear direction, all of them are looking for a chance to make a name for themselves. We can talk about this later, she says, when we're out of this mess. There was once a good and noble knight. Okay, we back up. That was a chapter end. Next chapter on episode 1. Let's take a little quick break there. What a first chapter. Dang. I like that it said that the lightning bolt was 5 seconds and lightning bolt in the card was 5 damage. That was really cool. So that's the only thing I really caught that from, magic knowledge.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, though.
Rowan and Will are planeswalkers.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. I have the expert next to me, so she will correct me along the path as I screw up Rowan's name every time I don't think about it.
Yeah.
We'll go green so I don't die if I accidentally die from a hit in the middle of this, Bang. All right. I don't really know where I'm at on length,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like a quarter down this scroll.
Oh, wow.
We got this, everybody. We're 16 minutes in. Chapter 1 is through. Chapter 2. I guess part 2. They don't put chapter 2, but I'm calling it chapter 2. There once was a good and noble knight who served at Castle Imbereth? Castle Imbereth with her fellows, who drank deep of festival wine and bousted as loud as many men could boust. Stout of arm she was, but stout of heart. That woman died months ago. Moya, this story, you got me last time we started this. That woman died months ago. Imodaine is all that remains. She runs, fear lending her feet fleet, through the thick brambles and over fallen boughs. All this is Imodaine getting away. But here is the way of things. Whenever one flees one past, one must watch carefully the future. Imodaine does not, nor does she realize what has happened until her foot lands, beyond all thought and reason, on cold stone. Hewed stone in the middle of the wilds. That's an interesting line. Since returns her spine a shiver. She looks around for what feels the first time. Ooh. Where she is, the woods are gone. Into a palace she has wandered, a throne room glittering and gossamered. Music and strange keys beguiles her ears. She smells wine, ripe fruit, and perfume. All around the landscape shifts as easily as the music. Walls become windows into a realm of plenty. Windows become doorways to who knows where. If she tries, she thinks she could see straight through the misty structures, but she doesn't want to try. There are things mortals are not yet meant to know, though the throne before her is shrouded in shadow. She knows upon seeing it where she must have ended up. I got some viewers. Hello, Abraham. What's up, bro? Imodaine falls to her knees. Forgive me, your majesty. I have no intent to trespass. Sorry. 2 eyes, gold as mead, glow from the dark. There is no need for apologized. You were summoned. She wishes to answer, but the sight of this delicate sovereign has robbed her of any sense. A gentle, cruel laugh caresses her cheeks. Would-be queen, once braved adventurer, tell me. The Fey Lord's hand cups Imodaine's chin, tilts her face up. Are you pure of heart. There is a village far from all this. It lies at an edge of a realm so remote that in day-to-day life, the names of kings and queens never cross the lips of its residents. Yearly visits from a single traveling merchant serve as a holiday all of their own. Whatever road the merchant takes to find this place, he has not shared it with the world, for even the Phyrexian neglected this place. And if they ain't going there, why would I? Perhaps they were not fond of sheep. Bah. There are more sheep in the village than people, by at least fivefold. When people say the word Oranshire, the word wool inevitably follows. Kellen doesn't like it here. Did I say that right? Kellen, you think?
I don't know.
And as he slinks through the door of his family's small home, he knows the feeling is mutual. He just hopes his mother doesn't notice the signs. But mothers are gifted with many magical talents, among them the unnatural ability to ask questions their children would rather not be asked. As Kellen walks to the door, his mother looks up from her spinning, and when she does, her face drops from joy to concern. "Welcome home, sweet. Oh no, are you hurt?" He tries to wave her off before she can stand up, but there's no use. She crossed the meager distance in the blink of an eye. Already she is looking at the scratches on his face, pricks of blood on his forearms. Kellen decided to look at the floor rather than up at his mom. It isn't a big deal, he mumbles. "It isn't a big deal," she repeats. From the folds of his hood, she reproduces a nail. "Kellen, what is this? What did they do to you out there?" He winces. He thought he'd gotten rid of all of them, but he should have known there would be one hiding somewhere. It was just, don't we have to talk? Do we have to talk about this? He does not need to see his mother's face to know her heart is sinking. She smooths the yew shavings from Kellen's hair with a sniff. "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. We don't need to talk if you don't want to." After a breath to steady herself, she turns her head and gives a shout. "Ronald! Ronald! Get him some water from the well!" Kellen winces as his stepfather shouts in answer. When his mother leads him to sit by the table, he plops down onto the chair with a pout, slumping like a marionette whose strings have been cut. Yes, quite like a marionette. He is weary and small for 16, all for more the reason of other boys who have chosen him as a victim. Ooh, he's dealing with bullying. He still doesn't meet his mother's gaze, not even fetches a clean rag and not even when she fetches a clean rag and starts dabbing off the blood on his brown skin. "Was it the Cotter boys?" she asks. "I owe Matilda 5 skins. I can give her a talking to while I drop them." Kellen sighs. He can't find himself to lie. It's not their fault. "If they're the ones that hurt you, I cannot see how it wouldn't be," his mother answers. Wide grins and laughters and jeers as he ran from them. "You never belonged here, half-blood." "They asked me a question. I answered wrong. That's all," Kellen says. He hears his stepfather thumping footsteps. The open of the door. What kind of question warrants? Sorry, this is his mom, not his dad. What kind of question warrants this sort of treatment?" His mother says. "Kellen, honey, whatever happened?" This is okay. I'm sorry. "Kellen, honey, whatever happened, none of this is your fault. You didn't answer wrong. These boys, they're afraid of me, I think," Kellen says. "They think the slumber is my fault." His stepfather arrives. The bucket sloshes to a stop beside them. "Who's afraid of Kellen? Whoa, what happened?" It isn't a big deal," Kellen says. He wants to get up and hide, and so they start staring at him and the cuts on his face, but he knows that isn't going to happen. "The Cotter boys. Look what they did to him," his mother says, plucking another nail from his clothes. And look at his hair. I have no idea what's going on in his head. A soft from Ronald. He plucks a wood shaving from Cullen's wavy brown hair, then holds it to his nose. You, I bet the nail is cold. I bet that nail is cold iron. That so, Cullen? Biting his lip, Cullen nods. His mother stops mid gesture. The question they asked you? He still doesn't look up. They asked if it was true my real dad was a fairy. The nail drops between the three of them. Ronald is the first to break the silence. He lays a hand on Cullen's shoulder. It doesn't matter what they say, son. All that matters is who you are. Not who you're from, but who you are is our boy. Cullen swallows. The question almost too frightening to ask, but he was to be brave. Heroes in all these stories are brave. But what if it's true and that is who I am? Don't I belong in the woods? The woods aren't the way you think, his mother said. These are dangers that you can't yet imagine, my sweet boy. When you're older, we can face them together, but not for now. His mother throws his arms around him. For a moment he's not sure who's embracing who. You belong here, his mother says, with us, no matter what anyone else says. Sorry if I'm a little overacting his mom. But it isn't the first time she said this to him, nor the first time they've all embraced. As much as Cullen loves his family, when he looks to the woods, all he feels is longing. And that's going to be the end of chapter 2 there. Take a quick little break here. We're almost there. Hopefully,
Do you need a break? You have a viewer. Stay on.
well, I'm just going to take a quick breath, stretch my arms. Oh, look, he's saying things too. Yeah. Let's see what you got. I'll take this quick break here to read what you got. Poor Cohen, I'm sure he will become a great hero, but at the beginning of the story, they portray him as a weak character, thinner than a hardware store mouse. Hell yeah, Abraham. All right, that'll be our break. Castle Ardenvale lies in ruins, half burned and abandoned. It is no proper home for a would-be high king and his court. Will's taken up residence at Castle Ventress. Great, we're back at Will. Instead, perhaps he hopes the knowledge that seeped into the stone will lead him wisdom. Rowan's not sure of that. Although she's been standing in her brother's makeshift war room for 15 minutes, this is the first time he realizes she's there. No matter that the guards announced her, no matter how many times she's cleared her throat, his papers have interested him more. She can't blame him, not entirely. As acting king, Will's buried beneath a mound of paperwork taller than the two of them put together. Alliances, arrangements for taxes, oaths of fealty, fiery condemnations. It is impossible to tell which is which when the stack is so high. Of course, she can blame him for taking the title in the first place. It's clear to see how much of all has worn on him. There are bags under his eyes, stubble on his chin. The black eye he sustained during the fight with Omadane hasn't yet healed. Either Will can't be bothered to ask Cerise to heal it for him. He's trying to make a statement. Must be the latter. If Cerise hasn't gotten a look at him, it'd be gone, regardless of what he wanted. We're leaving, she says. Will squints at her, his own twin, and he can't recognize her. He thinks he can rule the realm like this. Don't think with your sword arm, Rowan, he says, sounding far more like a beleaguered parent than their father ever did. Our siblings need us. Our people need us. I've already told Hazel and Eric I'll be away for a while. I think this is the best thing we could do for the realm, she says. She had a speech in mind before coming here, but she finds now that the words have changed. Look at yourself, Will. You're exhausted. The soldiers tell me you haven't slept in 2 days. And looking at you right now, I believe word's going to spread throughout the kingdom about what's happened at the cliffs. A situation we could have avoided if you had trusted me. He cuts in, sharp as ice. Will sits up and sets his jaw, not breaking eye contact. He picks up a letter. The Marquis of Roxburgh wrote to me today. He says he will not bend his knee to a man who lets his sister inflict such harm on others. A coward cannot be High King of Eldraine, he says. It is only the letter of its type I've received. I wish you trusted me more. There is a spike in the pain of Rowan's temple, a headache she's been dealing with of late, one that's eroded her patience. She presses her eyes closed. You'd be dead if I hadn't interfered. But he is right about one thing. You aren't the real High King of Eldraine. You didn't go on the high quest. Don't rake me over those coals for a technicality. That realm needs a High King. I did what I had to do, and would have done that at the cliffs too. I had a plan, Rowan. I don't always need you to save me, he says. We have to be careful about the impressions we're making. People want to be united. I want to unite them. Blasting a hole in the mountain is no idea of unity. I could have talked to her, found some way forward, but now she's gone off into the woods and her rebels have reason to fear us. So, let them be afraid. I doubt any of them will be raiding the countryside anytime soon with the beating we gave them. I'd rather have 1,000 brigands living in fear of me than a dozen farmers living in fear of brigands, Rowan says. Her brother clenches his jaw, pinches the bridge of his nose. It's not what our parents would have done. The headache pounding at her temple, her own bottled anger, the spark of blood. Sorry, I like saying blood. Who can say what it is causes her to burst out at him. But burst she does. That's rich, Will. Our parents would have ignored a curse that's spreading through the kingdom. Ours is unity going to solve the wicked slumber too? I didn't know all these people needed was a handshake and a cup of ale. And before you forget, our parents earned their titles. You should just decide to call yourself High King because you thought it was suited to you, no matter how much I told you it didn't. She's gone too far. She knows she has. But that's fine. They don't have to talk about this anymore. All they have to do is focus on finding a way to solve the problem. The wicked slumber might have stopped the Phyrexians in their tracks, but the realm struck a foul bargain to pay it. Now it's spreading among the citizens of Eldraine with no end in sight. Nothing can wake the dreamers, neither true love kisses nor a bucket of ice water. So long as they solve the problem of the wicked slumber, the people will rally behind them. Vantress's finest minds might not cracked into the months they had studied the issue, but the Vantress's finest minds don't have access to the multiverse. The twins do. Okay. Besides, it gets them away from here, from the castle that's not quite theirs, from the memories. And for all the differences, they share at least one thing in common: their spark. Rowan reaches for its power as she has so many times before. Will tenses. Rowan, we can't just leave. We aren't going to sit here either, she says. Strixhaven taught us to find magical solutions for our problems. That's what we need to do. I'm High King. I have to stay here. Strange. Shouldn't they have left by now? It must be Will's fault. His petulance is keeping them in place. Look up that word. Or maybe his annoying insistence on unearned title. Your duty is Eldraine, and duty's calling. You're ruining my focus.
I'm sorry.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, got me there. Where was I? I ruined focus. She ruined my focus. This time she puts all of her focus into walking, closes her eyes, forces herself to look past the stabbing pain in her head, her own frustrations. But closing her eyes is a mistake. Once more she sees them down. Once more she sees them down the long, curved halls of Castle Ardenvale. Her father, sword in hand, the Phyrexian behemoths he's fighting, her stepmother and her siblings running away, straight towards Will and Rowan, fear in those children's eyes and determination in her stepmother. Keep them safe and live well, Lyndon says. She knows how this story ends. She doesn't want to see it. Rowan, Will says, for the first time since they started this conversation, he sounds concerned. Are you all right? Her chest feels tight. Her mead might as well have a spike through it. And whenever she closes her eyes, her head, by the way, not mead, she sees her father dead on the end of a Phyrexian's blade. And as if talking away her parents and ruining her relationship with her brother wasn't enough, the Phyrexians seem to have taken something else from her. She can't clear her mind enough to planeswalk. The spark,
She lost.
it doesn't seem to respond. In fact, she can't feel it at all. No, she says flatly. Fine. Stay if you want. I'm going. And that's that chapter. Let's go ahead and check the chatties. Oh no, not her spark. I agree. That's crazy, right? What a fight between these two twins. I don't really know much lore, so like it's really cool. So let's go on. I think looks like we're going back to Kellen. Definitely. Every new moon, Kellen and his mother walked to an old widow tree on the edge of the woods. With its bark against their backs and its leaves shading their eyes, Kellen's mother tells him stories. The stars dance in front of his eyes. With every word, fireflies become gleaming shields of knights, swaying blades of grass, their swords. Sorry. Swaying blades of grass, their swords. Lately, instead of a new set of heroes every time he hears of two worthless, in particular, a young woman who fled her training as a hedge witch, a young man. Well, let's turn off my noties because you don't need to hear that. Sorry. Lately, instead of a new set of heroes every time, he hears of two worthless in particular, a young woman who fled her training as a hedge witch, and a young man who she saved from a troll's rampage. Through the wilds, they've journeyed together, facing all manner of beasts and canny mage. He has the feelings he knows who they are, but he's enjoying getting to know them on his own. On this night, as any other new moon night, he is near running up the top of a hill, the family sheepdog following in his wake, bounding along through the grass, full of energy despite the hour. Think you can beat me there, boy? Kellen calls. Hex barks, drool flying from his prodigious jowls. Kellen grins. He gives Hex a running pat, but pulls ahead of him all the same. There is no mercy when it comes to racing your sheepdog. I did not know that. When at least they reach the tree, he is panting for breath, but happier than he has been all day. From here on a hill, the rest of the village seems as far as Castle Ardenvale. He lays a hand on the comforting bark of a willow and turns. His mother said she'd be along in a moment. He could see her from here. But when she looks out, it isn't the village he sees. Rather, it isn't just the village. Ahead of him, there's an archway made of ethereal, translucent stone. His mother's stories have prepped him a little. He knows precisely what this is, an invitation to speak with one of the high fairies. As for why it's here, Kellen's breath catches in his chest. To the right of the archway, he can see his mother running up the hill. If she sees it, she hasn't said a word. He could stay here. He could wait for her, ignoring the door until it fades away. But his scratches still ache. The words of his so called followers echoed in his mind. You don't belong here. If they're right, could it be his father's finally taken notice of him? His real father. The moment Kellen has the thought, his hand on the strange doorknob, Hex barks up a storm. Each one feels in time with the hammer of Kellen's heart, but he can't falter. This might be his only chance. His mother catches up. She'd never let him go through. Kellen passes through the archway. Oh crap. A hero never hesitates. An unseen gust of wind throws him in the rest of the way through, and he lands on a cool, mossy floor. Only when he props himself up does he realize that the grass here is all silver. The twisting trees overhead bear jeweled fruit. In the distance, he sees thatched roofed houses, large as mountains, while all around him there are miniature castles populated by miniature knights. Whoa. When he sets his eyes, a little afraid now, on the horizon once more, he spots the staircase, and its top the throne. There is a figure upon it. Humans are as fond as calling things beautiful as they are as drawing breath. In doing this, the meaning of the word has been worn away, as a mountain may, even eons, become a shore. The reasons for this is simple. True beauty, unadulterated and pure, is enough to strike the viewer senseless. The figure who sits on the throne is as beautiful as the stars themselves. Kellen has never ventured far from his village, can't comprehend what he's seeing. The planes of this figure's face beguile him. The flesh of their wicked smiles sees him robbed of all of thoughts. Tell me, brave hero, are you true of heart? It's only a passing view of clouds that have no right being so low to the ground, that dispel Kellen's fetal fascination. What was it to the story said? Best to avoid looking at the Fae directly. He stares down at the ground. I, I don't I don't know. I think I'd like to be, he says. There's no answer at all, says the figure. They sigh much in a way as his mother did when imitating princes. Are you truly your father's son? Bearing such a wound as that? Without having dealt as many in turn? His heart skips a painful beat. So it's true? I'm half Fae? Do you know my father? Wait, are you... Maybe if he got a better look at the figure's face, he'd know. He steps forward, only for the roses to lash his feet in place. Careful, child. The blood that camples hatred from mortals offers you some protection here. But that protection is finite, they say. Remain where you are, and I shall make no move to stop you. But take another step, and you forsake your realm for my own. Oh, this is the fairy lord. Who else could it have been? Kellen's knees knocked together. He's trying to kneel like all knights do. He feels silly. Why, your majesty? Lord Talion, they answer him. Lord Talion, he says, do you know my father? I know many things. Yet, if you know who I am, and to whence you have come, you know what our kind surrender nothing. Talion answers. They lean forward on the throne, piercing their head on their hands. We have our own laws. Render me a service, child, and you shall have your answers. Our kind, our own laws, this place, with its jeweled fruit, with strange animals slinking between the strange trees. To stand here is to stand in the home of a long lost relative, uncertain of what significance anything holds. Yet the Fae does not lie. His mother always been clear about that. When you deal with the Fae, the straighter the answer, the better. And this seemed pretty straightforward to him. What do you need? Talion hums a strange tune. As lovely as a bird song. They snap their fingers, and two Fae appear on either side of Callan, each with a bowl of glistening fruit. Callan's stomach rumbles at the sight, and his throat feels dry. You must be hungry. But his mother taught him well, and Italians said to themselves, the Fays do nothing for free. Oh, sorry, go back. Callan said, you must be hungry. This is Italians. No, thank you. Italian smirks. With a wave of their hands, they dismiss the other Fae. To business, then. Witches three have this land with slumber plagued. Agatha, the hungry, lays in wait near her great cauldron in search of heroes to eat. Cruel Hilda has taken winter's crown for her own. Wherever there are lovers and lords, you shall find the beguiled Ariat. Who is ever is brave enough to defeat them shall break the curse upon the realm. And that service will earn a boon for my ever full treasury. A curse upon the realm? 3 witches? Talions in need of a hero? Callan's palms sweat. The bravest thing he's ever done is go through the archway. He's never fought a battle, nor completed a quest. But how can he say no? This place, these people, their blood is his too, aren't they? Maybe his father's a fairy knight, strapping and bold, or perhaps a mage, cunning and clever. Whoever he was someone Talion respected. Shouldn't that mean something? Callian wants to know more about him, wants to be more like him, this man who dwells among the silver grass, in the land of impossible beauty. His mother glimpsed it once and left, but Kellen wants more. If he fails, he fails. But if he can do it, he will finally know the truth. I'll do it. I'll go. That's the end of episode 1, Pure of Heart. Wilds of Eldraine. Big claps. What an episode 1. Woo! Oh, man. Thank you for sticking around with us, Abraham. You know what? I can even jump in there and say that on there. Probably be doing, I might as well do episode 2 tomorrow. But yeah, what do you think? Pretty good, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So we'll get back to it, and y'all stay groovy. And we'll wait. Oh, there we go. Thank you for sharing these readings, my friend. You have a noble heart like Will. Haha, thank you. I hope you enjoy my impersonations. My favorite was Kellen's mom. She really reminded me of the beginning of a Pokemon story, actually. Didn't she? You're in his house, and yeah. See y'all next time. Stay groovy.